It's that point in the show when we get some insights on the Bears from our Bear Blitz analyst, Hub Arkush. He joins us now from Chicagoland. And Hub, this week, this feels like a big game, not just because it's a very good Saints team the Bears will be facing, but it feels almost like the type of game that will show us which direction the Bears are heading and who the Bears are, because right now, I'm not really so sure who the Bears are.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a big game. The Saints are the best team in the NFC right now. I don't think there's any two ways around it. As well as they're playing, you're still better off getting Teddy Bridgewater than Drew Brees. But the Saints defense has been really, really good. It's not in the Bears category when the Bears are firing on all eight, but it's close. It's one of the top 4 or 5 defenses in the league right now, and it's going to be a real challenge. I think we do know who the Bears are. I think people have overreacted to the poor performance in London. Every team comes up flat every once in a while. It wasn't stunning to me. I'm not going to say I predicted. I actually did predict that they'd be pretty sloppy early. I just didn't think the Raiders would have enough to hold on. And in the end, they did come back and take the lead over the Raiders. But Raiders were just a better team on that day. I think the loss of Akeem Hicks and Kyle Long is huge, but this defense is loaded everywhere, including on the defensive line. You can't lose a player like Akeem Hicks and, not be somewhat less than your full potential. But there are so many stars on that defense. I still think it's going to be one of the best units in the league, even without him.
Mitch Trubisky was back practicing this week. Isn't the biggest question the Bears need to answer the rest of this season is who or what is Mitch Trubisky?
Well, I mean, it is a big question. He's actually just in year 3, so it wouldn't be a disaster if they couldn't answer that as long as he continues to show signs of improvement. I think the bigger issue right now is they have to prove they can run the football because Mitch Trubisky is not going to reach his full potential, and we're not really going to know who he is until he has a running game to complement what he's trying to do in the passing game. Any coach in the NFL will tell you if you take away one or the other, whether it's the run or the pass, and you make a team one-dimensional, that offense is not going to be very good. So certainly you want steady improvement from Mitch Trubisky. You want him to start to resemble a player worthy of the number 2 overall pick in the draft. But I think with this team right now, as good as I expect them to still be on defense, if they can run the football, it helps the offense out a lot. And even if Mitch continues to struggle a little bit, it makes it a lot easier to steal a win here and there when you're running the ball well.
Matt Nagy has said many times this year he is looking for steady, incremental improvement. Unfortunately, we have not seen that from the offense. My question to you is, are we seeing steady, incremental improvement in Matt Nagy's play calling and his handling of the offense?
Well, let me take a step back first, Scott. I think you actually were seeing, I don't know about how steady, but they were a little better each week. And they really did take a significant step from Denver to Washington. They played one of their better games on offense. Trubisky threw 3 touchdown passes. He made the big downfield over the shoulder throw to Taylor Gabriel. Granted, he threw a pick in the red zone, but it was pretty much the only mistake he made all night. And then he gets hurt very early the following week against the Vikings. So you didn't see steady improvement from Minnesota to Oakland, but I think a lot of that is Chase Daniel has been exposed at this point. He is fine as a mentor for Mitch. He's fine as a guy who has to step in once, maybe twice a year, but you do not want him starting a lot of games for you. And I think that is why, or at least in part, that is why the offense struggled in London.
But what do you think of Nagy's play calling, or has he just been handicapped by the injuries in the offensive line?
We've talked about this a few times on this show. Last week, I think it was about week 9 or 10, when he brought up the possibility that in addition to whatever else was wrong, they had to look at themselves as coaches and make sure that they're coaching this running game right, that it fits their scheme, that it's complementary to what they want to do passing the football. Is the play sequencing right? None of that has been proven to be true. So I think that he is struggling, maybe you could say a little bit of a sophomore slump after his Coach of the Year award because of the running game. I can't really comment too much on his play calling until he has an effective running game to balance off what he wants to do through the air.
Let's circle back to the Saints. They're 4-0 with Teddy Bridgewater as their starting quarterback. Are they winning in spite of him, or is he part of the reason they're having success?
No, he's definitely part of the reason, but he's mainly part of the reason as a game manager. He has not had to go out and make a play for them to win. He has had to avoid mistakes. He has to be consistent. He has to move the chains. He's been, a lot of talent on that offense besides just Drew Brees. And so he's done a very nice job going 4-0 in for Drew Brees. But when you look at how they've played and how they're winning, it's not nearly as scary or as dominant as that offense can be when you've got Drew Brees pulling the trigger. So he's doing a really nice job, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that you look at the situation in Carolina. Kyle Allen is the reason they're winning a lot of those games with him in instead of Cam Newton. In the case of the Saints, Teddy Bridgewater is the reason they're not losing any games, but I don't know that he's the reason that they've won any games either.
All right, I hear you there, Hub. Thank you very much. We'll check in with you again next week.
All right, Scott, take care.
Catch Hub every week right here, folks. You can also hear him on the Bears pregame and postgame shows on Sports Radio 670 The Score in Chicago. And Hub is the executive editor of Pro Football Weekly and ProFootballWeekly.com, where you can find not only information on the Bears, but information from all around the NFL. Up next, our predictions for this week's action in the NFC North. As we head to the break, here is our Bear Blitz trivia question. When did the Bears fight song Bear Down Chicago Bears get published? Was it 1941, 1951, or 1961? I'll have the answer after the break.